All right, welcome to Youth Assembly. It's good to be here and happy new month. Today we are looking at social media and its influence on the recent crisis in Nigeria. My name is Sylvia Ishewe. I know you haven't seen me on social media on Youth Assembly for a while, but it's good to be back. And I have with me barrister, Ilemona Onoja. He has been, cracking me up right here in the studio before we come on live. But welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good
It's
to
a
have
pleasure to
you.
have me. It's a pleasure
Good to
to be
have
here.
you. Yeah. So we're looking at social media and its influence in the recent crisis we had in Nigeria with the NSAS hashtag, which called for the dissolution of Special Anti-Robbery Squad (SARS) and influenced police units that we know accused of extortion, extrajudicial killings, rape and torture. Now, this hashtag swiftly started trending across social media. The hashtag trended continuously on Twitter and then extended to Facebook all over. And youth aired their pain and their experiences online and was boosted in part by Nigerian celebrities who had good followers, good followings. Now, with further interaction and communication on social media, the protest quickly grew and the aftermath left some chaos, hoodlums looting warehouses all across Nigeria. And the widespread information on social media about the activities people say made mostly turned out to be fake news. Now, with this information that I have given, what would you say was what would you say that how would you say social media influenced the recent crisis we had in Nigeria?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me.
It's good to have you.
Well, having said that, I would think that the role of social media is at the same time understated and at the same time overrated. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay.
Um, the social media was a veritable tool, was a good tool for the purposes of organizing this event. Hmm? So people were able to organize, network, relate on this and that level to offer, help, to offer services, to raise awareness, to engage, to encourage people to come out and to encourage people to participate, to raise, global awareness, not just local, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. It gave the opportunity as a tool to raise awareness about what the issue was.
And it did raise awareness. We saw international communities
global awareness,
trying to,
global.
lend their voices.
That is the single most trended hashtag in the world. Trended, had more hits, had more impressions than even Bring Back Our Girls, right? Which was in itself a very big thing. But over and above that, I think the crisis that followed was not influenced by social media. That happened on the streets. What sparked off the crisis, the first incidents of real violence that followed, was because a policeman in Orile had shot and killed two young boys. Right? The people in that community, in annoyance, mobilized and went and set the police station on fire. That is what sparked off the crisis. Remember that before the crisis started, there had been a very strong clampdown on the protests here in Abuja and then also in Lagos. There had been a very strong clampdown. So the crisis started on Monday. The crisis started on Tuesday. Right? No, the crisis started on Wednesday. That's when it became widespread, and
that was on Tuesday night. But people are of the opinion that after that Tuesday night shooting at Lekki Tollgate, with what people saw on social media, it made them react and started attacking, looting warehouses, attacking media houses.
But that wasn't what they were reacting to. That's a completely different issue. That's not what they were reacting to. The lootings are not related to, we saw something on social media, so we're angry, and because of that, we're going to go and loot this shop. The lootings were because at this point, the movement had been dispersed. People had gone home away. There was so much uncertainty. People took advantage of that uncertainty. It's not related to the protest. It's not. The protests themselves, and one of the reasons why I say that it's not related to the protest is because the protests themselves, for the first 13 days, we saw it. There was no violence, except unless on the 2 or 3 occasions where people mobilized thugs to attack the protests here in Abuja and in Lagos, attack the protesters here in Abuja and in Lagos. There was no violence. It was organized to the point where at the end of each day, people will go around sweeping streets and cleaning up after themselves. We've never seen anything like that before in terms of organization, in terms of providing security for themselves, in terms of providing medical supplies for themselves, in terms of providing logistics for movement for themselves, in terms of raising funding and then giving accounts of the funds that had been raised. There was a substantial amount of organization, peaceful organization. The violence that came after the protests had been dispersed.
Well, people are also of the opinion that because, and same on social media, if this protest didn't happen, then we wouldn't have had the chaos we had after the protests.
In the same vein, I would say if the police, if SARS wasn't killing people and raping people and extorting people extrajudicially and doing all the atrocities that they were doing, the protests wouldn't have happened in the first place. So if we're going to check a chain of events, look at the whole chain. The causative issue here is the failure of the government to reform this police unit and by extension the entire Nigerian police force. We are very well aware that the entire Nigerian police force is in dire need of strong reforms. And that's what all this protest was about. That's what it was about. Can you kindly change the way these things go on? And coming from the Nigerian youth who form the bulk of our population, it's something that I believe that government hasn't paid enough attention to, that you're supposed to pay attention to and you're supposed to fix. Okay. So if there had been that focus, if I understand that, there's a chain of events. I don't agree. I don't agree that the violence and the protests are linked on that chain. I don't agree. But the protests, assuming without conceding that is right, that without the protests there wouldn't have been any violence. The real thing is, without the atrocities, the human rights violations committed by SARS and by extension Nigerian police, the protests wouldn't have existed in the first place.
Okay, we'll look at the human rights violations over the course of the show. Well, if you're just tuning in, this is Youth Assembly. My name is Sylvia Ishebe, and we are looking at social media and its influence on the recent crisis in Nigeria. But for social media, this is Ilemona Onoja, and he is a lawyer. What would you say or consider fake news or hate speech on social media?
Fake news is very simple. Any news that isn't true. If it's not true, it's fake. I mean, there's no middle ground. It's either or. It's for or against. If it's not true, it's fake. Very simple. Hate speech, on the other hand, is a little more difficult to narrow down, because at its core, hate speech is provocative. It's speech designed to cause the targeted harassment or direction of hate at a particular group of people or things. Okay. Right? That's the way I would define it. It's targeted, is the manipulation of speech to help, target harassment or violence or negativity at a person or a group of people or at an object or an ideology or a belief. That's the way I'll frame it. Now, why I say it's a little more dicey is because there's so many lines because if I say something that is true, that gets people upset about a particular thing or a particular person or a particular ideology, the question is, have I engaged in hate speech? Because what I've said is true. So, for instance, if a person is a corrupt person, and I say, "Oga, you are corrupt," is that hate speech? Because the consequence of my saying, "Oga, you are corrupt," is that people will be, particularly in Nigeria, where people are angry that the corruption of people in authority deprives us of the access to the sort of amenities that we deserve as Nigerian people. So if I say, "Oga, you are corrupt," is that hate speech?
Okay.
Now, if I say that this particular group of people are violent. And my statement comes off of the back of personal experiences with them being violent. Is that hate speech?
But don't you think when you make statements like that and drop them on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, it will also cause a series of chain reaction? People will react to it or get that perception that you are trying to
The
pass across
question
and
is,
react. You can't even tell how the person will react when they see
but these
such.
things, the reactions, the violent reactions to speech in Nigeria have existed, violent reactions and all sorts of conflict have existed in this country for 60 years. Longer still, longer still. When we had the Ife Modakeke crisis in the Southwest, we didn't have any social media. But we had a crisis that spanned several months in which hundreds of lives were lost. When we had the militancy in the Niger Delta, we didn't have any social media to make it happen. When we had the various ethnic and religious crises across the North, we didn't have social media to make it happen. My point being that the sort of circumstances that make Nigerians react violently to all sorts of, and I use the word provocative in quotes, provocative speech or actions, it's not motivated by social media. It has existed on our towns, in our street corners, in our offices, in our homes for years. And it is motivated by a series of factors: poverty, the manipulation of our fault lines by political and religious leaders to achieve their own selfish aims. It is it is caused by injustice. It is caused by inequality, and so on and so forth. So the real causes is not social media.
So social media, are you saying social media is bringing it out?
Social media is a reflection of our society.
Of what is wrong with
It's a reflection of the deep ingrained problems our society has. To be able to cure it, right? The solution isn't the phone. It isn't social media.
But before you get to the solution, before you get to the solution, during the NSAS protests, we also saw videos and pictures that circulated that turned out to be fake and not real, that people actually reacted to, shared across board, and at the end of the day, it wasn't real. How would you react to that?
My reactions are the same as I've said over social media for so long. I mean, I think that the people who posted these pictures and videos and images did a disservice to their compatriots who were demanding for better governance, who were demanding for an alternative reality to the realities that we're compelled to live in. So I believe that the people who shared these things for the purposes of achieving whatever nefarious aims or whatever selfish agendas did all of the rest of the people a disservice. I believe that. And I believe that as much as possible, we show them disregard. I believe that people need to exercise a greater sense of responsibility towards ensuring that those things don't happen, and that we focus on what is real and what is true. However, this is where I am. Emphasis on the incidence of fake news than we do on what is actually real. We cannot. I believe that anybody who looked at the incidents of the NSAS movement and says, rather than focus on the substantiable stories of the violation of human rights, of the atrocities committed by this rogue unit of the Nigerian police force, placing premium on the need to do the reforms to improve everybody's lives. On the need to, there was hate speech involved. I think that there's a fundamental problem. Because at the root of it all is a widespread violation of our constitution, violation of the rights and freedoms of the Nigerian people, mass murder, extrajudicial killings. That ought to always be the focus. At best, hate speech is a tertiary focus. It's not even secondary. The primary focus should be, must be, has to be what is the issue at stake? That there is a rogue police unit that is violating constantly the rights and freedoms of the Nigerian people.
All right. So the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, has actually called for the regulation of social media, and so. And yes, Nigerians are reacting on social media, saying that that is not what we need. Some people are saying we need that. What is your take on regulating social media, and how does it affect the rights of the citizenry?
Um, I belong to the school of thought that freedom of speech is a sacrosanct right, and that violations to the right to freedom of speech are civil wrongs, right? That should be addressed in civil court rather than criminalized and punished by the instruments of state. That's my school of jurisprudence, of legal jurisprudence. That a person who violates the right to who uses his right to freedom of speech to violate the rights of others, right? That is a civil wrong, a wrong in tort, not a wrong steeped in criminal law. And that wrong should be redressed civilly. Now, when we now come to incidents of mass communication where a person is inciting hatred, remember what I said about the definition of hate speech. I believe that wrong is not typically perpetrated on social. It's not perpetrated on social media. That wrong is perpetrated in our churches and our mosques. That wrong is perpetrated in our homes. That wrong is perpetrated in our offices. Right? Go set up a just and egalitarian society. Right? And it will remove that wrong from our social media, because it will remove that wrong from all the places of social media where it happens. Like I said before, social media is a reflection of society. It's a reflection of it's anybody who says blah 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 on social media is saying it in an office, is executing it in a home, is preaching it on a pulpit. Those are the places. Here it just matters. I've given you instances where nasty things. I've been caught up in crisis. I grew up in Kaduna. I went to secondary school in Kaduna. I've been caught up in crisis there in the 90s. Where people I know, people I grew up knowing on my streets, on Lawan Jafar Road in Kaduna, chased me. So the question is, there was no social media then. Why have we restricted our understanding to the challenges of our country to social media? You can scrap it for all we care.
Okay.
You can remove social media and smartphones from Nigeria now. It didn't exist before, and we've had thousands of people killed in this country on one account or the other, harmed, injured, maimed, whatever.
But the minister is not scrapping it. He's just regulating.
I'm saying I'm the one who said
checking.
even if you scrap it, the injustice is not here. The injustice is in our homes. This is a reflection. It's like saying you're looking at a mirror. You are all dirtied up. You went outside and played in the mud. And you come and you're looking at a mirror. And instead of you to go and bathe and clean yourself up and change your clothes, you want to damage the mirror because you don't like the reflection that the mirror gives to you. The solution isn't the problem isn't the mirror. The problem is that you went out and played in mud.
But do you think there are some excesses associated with social media?
There are excesses associated with life. With the very life itself. There are excesses associated with life.
All right, I would like to hear from you. If you're just tuning in, it is Youth Assembly, and we are looking at the role of social media. Yes, social media on the recent crisis in Nigeria. We'd like you to react to the question that we asked. What role do you think the social media played in the happenings in the country in recent times? We would love to take your messages and also answer your questions if you have any. This is Ilemona Onoja, a lawyer, and he is speaking so well. Give him a thumbs up if he's doing well. I do this if he's not doing well. I believe he's doing well. And I am Sylvia Ishebe. So the solutions. Let's talk about the solutions. What is the way forward in terms of what we put out there on social media, because people are quick to react on social media than they react before they think. Retweet before you can even read and understand what has been tweeted. What is the solution to what we have going on right now?
I would think that the solution is I don't know how to phrase this. I hate the phrase national reorientation. I mean, because we've heard it so many times, so it's actually quite annoying.
We can't stop talking about it.
But I would think that the solution is a national reorientation. It's again, and I always take my answers to real life, to physicality, because I believe that if people think about it, you see that thing that you just said, quickly reshare, quickly retweet, quickly, repost, and so on and so forth, without verifying. It's pretty much the same thing with when a mob is outside and there's jungle justice going on, and people don't know what he did or she did, and they just show up and slap and kick. Bring fire, bring petrol, bring petrol. It's a societal lack of understanding about principles of verification for news, for instance. It's about the principles of what justice is, about the willingness to participate in jungle justice, and so on and so have you. The society, it's also a lack of trust in processes and systems that we have that govern us. The solution is not there, it's elsewhere. Now, again, if we
the
have
solution, come again,
it's not social
media.
It's not the regulation of social media. It is in the establishment of a better set of societal conduct.
Okay.
If we conduct ourselves better in society, it will reflect on social media immediately. It will reflect on social media. And this thing is like water always finding its level. If you don't remove the source of the flooding, you don't stop the source of the flooding, and you try to control the levels to which it goes, it will find another way. There'll be another expression. The real deal is in society. Sort out our societal principles. For instance, let people like me, let people know that if somebody slanders me, if I take this person to court, I will get justice within a reasonable period of time. That will include the person having to retract the slanderous information, apologize, and pay me damages for the damage to my reputation. Once people trust that process, right? Once people are sure that that process is going to work, they will quickly abandon the willingness to participate. It now becomes a two-way street. So from the get-go, I now know that if I spread fake news, okay, somebody might take me to court, and that process will work for the person. On the other hand, if somebody posts fake news about me, rather than the willingness to arm the police to go after the person, because I don't trust in the court process, I know that if I go to court, the court is going to compel the person to retract the news and pay me damages.
Yeah.
That's not a social media issue. The solution is off social media. So, like I've said several times on this program already, social media is a reflection of our society.
All right, let's just also look at the good part of social media. I mean, people have been held accountable using social media. And recently we saw the actor lawmaker Desmond Elliot's being called out for the video or his take on regulating social media, his apologies. So what do you make of all of the drama that happened surrounded that video, his apologies, and what Nigerians have to say?
I'll start from saying that social media is a great thing. I've met some of my best friends in this life on social media. I've relationships that developed on social media. Businesses use social media to thrive. It's a bridge between the vendor and the customer. So social media has essentially changed the way we live, the way we relate, the way we do business. It's essentially altered it. Essentially. So when we hear people scream, and I mean the manner in which Desmond Elliot spoke was very disappointing. Very disappointing. I expected a greater sense of circumspection, calling people children and demeaning people because they came out to speak about, what their own real life experiences were. Nobody's going to lie. Let us not lie about it. People have lost family members. People have lost untold sources, untold amounts of money. People have suffered untold hardship of the heart. And then rather than focus on that, there was no deliberation on how are we going to resolve the suffering of these people? Instead, you're talking about regulation and children and what you have seen, what the manifestations of the protests and the statements that were made is long held, pent up suffering, pent up anger. People directed it at the people who are in authority, who fail, refuse, or neglect to do anything to assuage their suffering and their anger. So to now be spoken to in that condescending manner, I mean, the other lady who, somebody Ali Balogun, Mojisola Ali Balogun, who said that everybody is people are, most of the youths are drug addicts and drug addicts. I'm like, are you serious now? I mean, come on. Here we are, where Nigerian youth, without any help, in these very trying times, are creating businesses that are valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's your assessment? Really?
So does it say that a lot of
so go back to what I said.
Embrace social media.
Let me tell you, the feeling is that there's fear.
Okay.
That this thing, one, is a tool that people can use to hold political leaders to account. They're not used to being held to account. This is a tool where people can challenge them directly. They're not used to being held to account on that level, on the one hand. On the other hand, this is a tool for organization. We just saw a protest that was organized. It was organized on social media. Fundraising for the protest was done on social media. The call for volunteers was done on social media. The creation for accountability was done on social media. It was on social media that the organizers on a daily basis will say, this is how much we've raised, this is where we've spent it, this is how much we've spent, this is the balance that we've had. So here we are, where social media is completely altering not just business, not just life, but also politics.
Okay, so how can we, or the leaders, or the people in authority, embrace social media to
get with the
deliver?
Get with the times. Times have changed. You can no longer do things as though we're in the 2020s, right? A new decade has started. You can no longer do things as though you were in 1999 or you were in 1978 or you were in 19 whatever. Things have to change. Realize that rather than people coming to your office to come and picket the place, people will create a community where we can hold you to account here. And we can organize here that if you don't do what we are required to do, what you're required to do, that we will organize ourselves to make sure that you don't get re-elected. That is, people need to understand that the game has effectively changed. Why is it important? Most of the people, again, go back to Nigeria's demographic, Nigeria's age demographic, right? A large percentage of this country is aged between 18 and 35. A large percentage of this country. So that percentage of this country is here on a smartphone, on social media. If that's where they are, go and engage them there. Why are you demonizing something, a tool that they have, rather than understanding it and engaging with it? Why are you demonizing it?
Okay, so we engaged some some listeners, and we have some comments.
You said nice things.
I hope so. Let's take it. Hilda Cato says yes to a large extent. That's reacting to the question: what role did social media play in the recent crisis in Nigeria? So Hilda says yes to a large extent. It is when others see what is happening in other parts of the country on social media that they get encouraged to do their own damages. Like, let's take, for example, the warehouses that were looted. Like, people said searching for warehouses in their own location too.
Where was the first warehouse? Well, the first warehouse that was looted was where?
Well, it was Lagos. Okay. Yes.
Was the organization for that done on social media? The answer is no. Remember what I first said. People underestimate and then overrate social media at the same time.
Okay.
That was done locally. The people who gave the information about those warehouses, where those warehouses were located, did not come onto Twitter, for instance, and say, there's palliative in this warehouse, so let's go there. And then other people said yes. No, somebody in the locality who knew the location of the warehouse said, I know where this thing is, and other people said, okay, let's go. That was on social media. That's why I say sometimes people overrate the effect of social media. These things happen in our real life. They happen on our streets. The organization and it is, we see a group of 10 people going in. Say, well, now they go, palliative day inside this building. We're going to go and get the palliatives. Okay, let me join you. 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 That's what happened. The reports of the looting of the palliatives were carried on television. Should we ban television as well? Or should we regulate television as well? The reports of the looting were carried in newspapers. Should we go and re-regulate newspapers as well? This thing is just a tool for the real life events and occurrences in our society.
All right, more comments. We have Hawa Mohammed. How social media carries news can escalate or does of tension, and in this scenario, the former seem to be the case. That is carrying out. And Fadila Yunus says 50 good, 50 bad.
As with life.
50-50.
As with life.
Timothy Chijoke Oji says, not in any way. It is hunger, police brutality, and bad governance that have hands in it, and not social media. Social media aggregates and disseminates information, whether positive or negative. Sports is circulated on social media just as wars and other societal problems. However, fake news is circulated on social media just as the conventional media can cause unrest. Yeah. But this is not the case with the EndSARS protest.
Thank you very much. Our thoughts and Chijoke and our thoughts and our beliefs align completely. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your comments. And in conclusion, moving forward, what is the way for social media in our society, and what role can the government play in ensuring that people's rights are not violated by regulating social media?
You go on first. I'm a lawyer, so I always start from my first constituency.
Yes.
Go and fix our justice system.
Okay.
Enable the speedy dispensation of cases, so that if somebody feels wronged, rather than resort to criminalizing free speech, what we will be able to do is go and follow the process set up by our law to get redress, so that people can retract the statements and pay damages. Fix the criminal system, fix the judicial system first. Once people have confidence in that system, they will resort to going to that system. Because if somebody insults me and I can make 10 million from the person pays me damages of 10 million naira, or somebody says something, spreads a fake news about me, and the person can pay me damages of 10 million naira, why will I go to police? I'll go to the court. But I need to trust that the justice system will work speedily. Otherwise, I'll resort to what I perceive to be quicker fixes. Something that will make me get redress quicker, make me feel better quicker, which is go to the police. No, remove that. Fix the justice system first. Secondly, the solutions to our problems are in society. Anybody who wants a peaceful society, a responsible society, has to first and foremost create a just and egalitarian society where there's equal and equitable distribution of resources and access to opportunities. And once you have fixed that, it will reflect on social media. It will show. Like I've repeatedly said, I've done business. I've seen people who call me and give me business because they saw something I wrote or something I said, or they patronize any of the things I said because they came and saw something on social media.
All right.
It's a big people meet and marry on social media. You can't come and tell me that.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. His name is Ilemona Onoja, a lawyer. And yes, he has really given us some great insight into social media and its influence on the recent crisis in Nigeria. And to you watching, thank you for choosing to be here this Monday morning to do this with us. Thank you for all of you who sent in your messages and telling us the role social media has played in the recent crisis in Nigeria. Ilemona Onoja, thank you once again, and I do hope you have a fantastic week.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, but before you go, what do you hope for November for Nigeria? The year has brought a lot of bad will, but moving forward, what is your wish?
Well, my birthday is in this month.
Oh, we will celebrate with another.
My birthday is this month.
Oh, you're invited, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I believe my prayer is that this month will bring us glad tidings.
Yeah.
We've been through a tough year globally, not just even in Nigeria. Globally, we've been through a very tough year, but we're still here. I urge people not to lose faith. Don't cancel the year. Amazing things can still happen this year.
Yeah.
So it is my prayer that this year will be this month will be one of those months where we receive a 30, 60, and 100-fold increase for the work of our hands and for the things we do.
Definitely. Amen. Thank you. And yes, my name is Sylvia Isheme. I'll be back tomorrow for another interesting edition of Youth Assembly. Stay right here. The conversation continues on www.clickniger.net. Follow us on our Twitter page at ClickNiger1. On Instagram, we're at ClickNiger. See you tomorrow. Well, stay safe.